Okay, this was a highly requested outline to do a Longhorn cow, so I hope you're excited about this tutorial. Per usual, I'm going to be using the size 10 from my round brush set. Yeah, this is part of the Country Life Watercoloring Book. Has all things country life with my original outlines and video tutorials that go along with each outline. If you do not have paints and brushes already, I highly suggest getting the ones that I use in the tutorials. You can find them on my website. There's this 24 color paint palette with nice creamy colors, the 6 brushes, your choice of book in a little carry-all bag. So you're gonna love it. Anyway, I will link it, but we're gonna get started. Disclosure, homegirl is not the best at animals. But I'm gonna do my best. We're gonna have fun together. So yeah, let's do this. With watercolor, we move lights to darks. So I'm gonna grab this salmon color, and I have this thing. If you have gotten a newer palette from me, I now include this little swatch sheet so that you can test the colors. You can know the colors that I'm using by the words that I'm saying, so it might be nice to have that there. If you have an older set, please email me. I'm happy to send you a PDF. Yeah, so I think this is a really great, maybe a little bit more yellow in this. So I'm gonna grab this yellow ochre and then drop in a good amount of water because I want it really diluted down. And that's gonna be our base color. Just flat wash the entire thing, minus the horns. So with this, this is a lot of ground to cover, so you wanna move pretty quick so that you don't have like different water lines. It's not the end of the world because it is your base color, but if you're wanting a smooth tone, you kind of gotta move quickly in the areas before they dry. There we go. And while we have it slightly damp, we can add in some more colors to offer some shading. So once we have this wash all the way done, we're gonna come in while it's slightly damp still and just add in some more color. And I kind of have it mapped out where the colors will be. It's a, I don't know the correct term for these. It's a Longhorn, has some really pretty like red hair and white spots. And so I'm gonna do this umber. I'm gonna mix it over here, and you could pull straight from this because that is a really pretty color, but I do want it to be slightly, I'm gonna add green, a little bit of blue. I'm gonna grab this blue. Okay, see how it still has an orange tone to it, but it is a cooler or a more deep color. And this is where you can come in, and the nose here, that is a lighter color. So we're going to work in this body and try your best not to get, you're gonna keep that separation, just like this. Up to the ear and over. Okay, so even that, like, it is cool if you're wanting to add in some more of like the umber, more of an orange, you can add in that right now. And we're just filling in this section. And I'm going past the outline with the darker color so that you don't see it as well in the finished product. Moving quickly. And as we have it wet, we're gonna drop in some darker areas, kind of around the belly, slightly, and so I'm making more, just like with less water. So it comes up kind of around here. We also have some darker color on the neck. And I really don't want like a bunch of lines. I'm gonna have some around the ear, shoulder area. And while it's still wet, I'm going to dab my brush off and clean up the area to where there's not a line, kind of blends. Just like this. If you want more orange, you could have a second color here that's more vibrant, and just drop in some sections. This back shoulder, you could grab either the darker or the lighter, and this right here is also going to be that color. You can tell I have a lot of water right here, so I'm lifting it off. I don't want it to be more loose and puddly than the rest of the stuff, so I am lifting it off. I'm gonna add in a little bit more color, and we're gonna leave it like that. Down here is also the same. I'm gonna have it be a lighter, just like this. This leg here. Are you seeing it come together? And also, if you are someone that likes to have a reference picture right next to you as you're painting, I have on the inside of the cover a QR code that you can scan that will send you to my playlist of videos, my supplies, and also a link to my references so that you could print them off and look at them if you are not wanting the tutorial, or if you're wanting to print it off and have it as a resource while we paint. But I'm coming in and I'm just kind of adding creases. So I have above this line some color. I have at the bend in the leg, the knee, I would imagine is what it's called. And then I'm lifting up the loose edges. All right, there we go. And back here, this is her or his, her, whatever. I don't know, I'm guessing it's a him if there's horns, or do ladies have horns too? Back here is also darker. And then up here, these spots. I think that looks super cute. Okay, so now it's time to come in and add some shadows. You can leave the face cream, or you could come in and add some color. I want her face or I keep saying her. Who knows, man? Tell me. But I'm going to add in a lighter color than the body, just slightly more orange and has more water, so that there's that comparison between the two. And we can come in with like a contrast color too, but this is going to be the main. Filling in the bulk of this area just flat, and then we can come back and add like some hair afterwards. And to the ears. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Cleaning my brush off and pulling, you see how I left some white by the eyes? I'm pulling that down just because I want the eyelids to be slightly lighter than the rest, but I don't want them white. I just want them lighter. Okay, the ears are gonna be darker. So we're gonna pull from that color that we made. And you could even like do the top a little bit like this, dark, and clean your brush off, grab a little bit of that lighter color and blend it down in like this. Just like that. I think that looks really pretty. Same thing here, except I'm gonna leave the top lighter. And pull that color down. That lighter color for the ear. Okay, and then this darker color that we have, I do want to bring it up into here to show some shadow, and a little bit on this side coming up into this. And now you're gonna clean your brush off and kind of smooth that out, but also like you don't need it overly smooth because it's hairy, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Cleaning this eye up a little. There we go. Awesome. And this is where if you wanted to add like an even deeper of a red, you could grab like an actual red and mix it in with the brown. So we have our umber, we have the red, mixing that together. And I think adding a little bit of that into the horns, just like while it's still wet, doing little hair strokes with really light pressure, going up and kind of like coming to a center, like almost like eyebrows, but like coming together on the center of the head, just like this. And do the same thing with a clean brush and just kind of loosen the edges up a little to where it's not so prominent, but you could see that there's something happening there. And then on the cheeks, like, I don't know how to talk about animals. Full transparency, I'm not an animal person. I can appreciate them, but like I don't know a whole lot about them. I'm not like, I don't know, man. But we're gonna use this lighter color. I just added more water to it, and that's gonna be the nose, just like this. And I'm pulling any excess water off, hoping that the nose will stay lighter than the rest of everything else. There we go. And you could even grab your cooler color again, like use your umber and your blue and kind of form around the eye, like a little circle here. Under, it comes down and meets up with this. I'm telling you, man. It's gonna end up beautiful, but the face is slightly hard. But we're doing it together. Painting is all about just having fun. Letting go of expectations. Okay. I should come at this more confidently, I'm sorry. There we go. It looks kind of crazy right now because I think once we have the eyes in and the nose, it will come together a little bit better. But now we're gonna focus on the cream, like the white areas here. And I'm gonna add in some gray over here. And I still have some of that orange on my brush, which I am happy about. But I'm watering down that gray. Very diluted. And I'm coming in with some shadows. So like right here, I've made a line where some shading is. It's gonna come over all the way kind of across here. And it starts to go up a little bit, but then we're going to clean our brush, pull some of that water off so it doesn't puddle, clean it again since I just touched more paint. And this right here, we want to have that like contrast. Over here, however, we want it to bleed up gradually. So I'm using my brush, the tip of it, and letting the water from my brush gradually move up. See what that did here? Some shadows could be around this. And do the same thing, dab your brush off and pull. If there's more of that than you want and you want to bring back some more white, you could dab your paper towel and get some more control back, just like this. Okay. So now I have a little bit here on the leg, but I don't like, I want to leave some of this white and some of this white. So I'm just doing the middle and then I'm pulling it outwards, very gradual, just like that. Down here is going to be darker. I think I want to add a slightly bit more gray. Slightly more gray, a slightly bit. And it's gonna come here around kind of all of it, to be honest. You could probably just fill it in just like that. A little bit here. This section is darker, or you could leave it light, whatever you want to do. But you could grab the color that you have mixed. If you want it to be even more brown toned, then you can fill that in here. I think that looks so pretty. Okay. Now we have these hooves, and I feel like I want them to be more gray, but then we'll like pull them out. So this one especially is darker. Like I don't want it to mix too much in with the skin, with his body, but it is the same tone. I like that. Okay, and then this same color is going to be coming up into his nose. Starting between here, it's going to be coming down. for sure, kind of just covering the whole thing, and then we'll come in with more of a contrast. Up here is going to be lighter because it's hitting the sun. So it's gradually going up, similar to this. Just like that. Could add a little bit of the gray around the eyes. Okay, and then this is actually a really great base color for the horns. So we could come in maybe slightly lighter. You can come in and do the horns now. Careful not to go over the lines. I want to meet up with it exactly on this one, as I literally go over it as I'm talking. Cool. Okay. It's a great base color. Look how cute. She cute. Okay, I'm adding this darker brown in. Let's see. It's a little wet still. We're gonna add it into the bottom. Kind of over this way. Meeting up with this side. Like that. And lifting off a tiny bit. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush off because I don't want this to be darker than it needs to be. And I'm just blending out that bottom part. So I'm doing that by just barely touching it with my brush and lifting it off and bringing it onto my paper towel. You can do the same over here. You could add some of the brown to that gray. It's gonna be lighter, but you could add some in here that kind of goes up, and then clean brush, using the tip to spread it upwards, kind of in between the two nostrils. You could add more gray around too, just like that. Okay, we're gonna let that dry, and we could do the eyes since they are dry. Something else too, if you wanted, we could add even more of like some shading down here along the bottom. Not doing much else than just like lining down here. See that? Same down here. You could leave it or you could blend it, whatever is your preferred look. And then while all that dries, we can work on the horns to add a little bit of dimension in there. We could grab some black and add it in with our gray, and that can be our darker tone that we're just gonna kind of drop in to the bottom, and then a little bit as we get higher. So right here, very light pressure, and then as you get up, it's going to be kind of more chunky where that darker section is. And you're gonna grab your brush, dab it off, and that's how we're gonna blend that out. Tip of the brush, remember. Pulling that up. If you notice that it's pulling more of the color than you want, then it's time to dab your brush off on the paper towel and get rid of some of that color. And you could even grab some of the salmon and drop some of that in just loosely through the bottom. I think that looks pretty. Okay, so now we're gonna grab this darker gray and do the same over here along the bottom. Some areas could go up. It's really just what you want to do. Clean off your brush, using the tip, pulling that color out and up. Nice. Now we have the salmon. And we could drop that in. Pretty. If you wanted to grab some of the salmon and put it in the nose too, you could do that. But now it's time to do the eyes. So we're gonna grab the black and make sure you don't have too much water. You want enough water to get the pigment off, but not too much. It's not dripping. When you put it on the paper towel, it will barely make. And then you're just going to do the smaller dot. Let's see, right here. And then right here had like a white in it. So there's that. Then you can come into the nose and fill the nose. I think that looks so pretty. I feel like this needs to be a little bigger. Okay, cute. So this could be done. If you're a minimal girly and you want this to just be done, you can be done. If you want to fill in some grass, like it's resting on some grass all the way across, you could do that. Could fill in a pretty sky. So if you are wanting to be done, you can be done. If you want to add some more, I'm gonna kind of show you what I would do to add in some fun color. So we have green. I kind of want to add in some of this yellow ochre into the mix, and complementary to green, if you want it to be neutral, is red. So you're gonna add a little bit of red. Start out with a little and just add until you find a tone that you like. So I think that's a good color. I'm going to add a darker version right here in the corner. So we have our middle green and we have red. Mixing that, adding a little more red. A little more green. There we go. Okay, so now I have 2 shades of green right here. And you can grab your brush, stabilize your hand. You're going to be doing just little strokes where the grass marks are. You could really just fill in underneath like this, just as a flat green with a little bit of color there. I think this green looks really pretty with that. With the brown. Right here has some more, so you could grab like maybe some of the darker green. Do some very light, loose strokes. And you're coming across, let's make the horizon line right here. Using that same color, and I am grabbing water and diluting it down as I go. Just grabbing that color, bringing it across. Some water, just spreading it out. Okay, I think that looks really, really pretty. If you want to add more over here, you can add more. Just some fun little spots for grass. And then you could leave it white, or you could grab this blue up here, the ultramarine. I gotta clean this out. I'm just gonna add it to that gray that we had because I like more of a muted blue. I'm gonna dab a little bit of it out so that I can make more of a blue tone versus a gray. So I'm adding more ultramarine, maybe a tiny bit of the sky blue in there. And that's the color that I'm gonna do for the sky. I'm adding a lot of water And because the horns kind of separate the sky, we don't need to wet everything down. We can work in this section, then here, then here. That will give us more control. We can keep things consistent with the same things. So you could just kind of fill it in. Still gotta move quickly. Pretty. We're gonna move over here. You could add some water to it to spread it faster. This will dilute it down a little bit, so don't overdo it unless you're planning to do the same thing everywhere. You can move things around if that's easier. You still need to do your best not to like paint inside the horns or touch too much of the red, because it will blend even though it's dry. Sometimes if you work at it, it will pull up color. Almost there. Okay. Grabbing the last bit of blue. And I'm focusing on the higher parts because as you lower down and get closer to the horizon line, your paint or your color will be more diluted anyways. So if it slowly gets lighter as you get lower, that is okay with me. But if you are wanting to add more blue into it, you can definitely do that. All right, we are done. I hope you love it. This turned out really cute. I hope you're proud of yourself, and I'll see you next time for this cute rodeo scene. Have the best day.